Hello everybody, good day, hope you're doing well. This is the first video for Sunday. We've got a podcast coming out later on today. Now this video is going to be about the dual class crystal. If you remember back in the MCN last week, I said I was going to be looking at this particular topic a bit more. And believe it or not, I actually recorded a video similar like this. It was a 20-minute long video, and I gotta be honest, by the end, I think I reviewed it, like I'm recording this on Friday, I reviewed it and let it live for about 2 days, and I looked at it and I watched it again, and I just thought, it just wasn't good. I time coded a lot of stuff and there was some really good points in it, but I kind of felt like I could have rounded off all those points in a 5-minute section, which is the reason I'm doing this particular version, different version to the video that I plan to make. And what I want to do is look at like the positives around this and the negative side of things, and kind of have this kind of even playing field of going, look, what does the value of this crystal kind of deliver for the people, and also the kind of the non-value side of things, and also the acquisition of 6-star shards, which is going to be the focus point of a video that's coming out, I think next week I'm making at the moment. The particular point of that video, the 20-minute long video, narrowed down to literally like, I don't know, about 1 minute of coverage, is that the extra 2,500 6-star shards can be problematic for anybody that's lower than Paragon, even Thronebreaker-ish, because the chance of you getting to your first 1 to 3 6 stars, it costs a lot more to get to it, especially if you're looking at by the 5th one you spend on, you're only getting 4 dual class crystals for the price that you're going for. And as well, what you do is you go to RNG in order to achieve it. Yes, there is a better kind of like pool of champions that are a bit better at 6-star. We're going to cover that in a second with the positive. But when it comes to the negative elements of it, between you being a spender and a non-spender, your experience of getting it and where you are with progression could be very different to those that are just trying to get your 6 stars for the very first time. There's also a second part to that particular notion, in that the champions that you get may not actually be that good. Kabam's buff sequence is not as quick as it was, say, 1 or 2 years ago, and you have to really rely on Kabam buffing a champion, which you might go, hey, oh yeah, I've just done a dual class crystal today, and I've got myself a nice shiny Superior Iron Man. You say you picked up a Superior Iron Man for the very first time, and you're like, oh, can I do anything with this as a 6-star? No, and then you're in kind of like a bad notion, because like it's not particularly good. In the video that I did record, which as I said I'm deleting because it doesn't really kind of cover this in any kind of great way, the thing that was shown, and I don't know if I can repeat the same thing again, is the dual class crystal still is the formation of RNG, and you still have to rely on, if you're, and this is a 4-star by the way, if I pop open this 4-star here and I pick myself up a champion, that's still a relatively good champion to use, but it may be a case that I don't get anything remotely good. Funny enough, in the video that I don't know if I might kind of throw it up on screen, I don't know if I'm able to edit it in, I got an X23, and I can't do anything with an X23. It hasn't been buffed, number one, and number two, I don't have any content to use it in. There may be some specific stuff she could be used in, not to be rude about the champion, it's just there's nothing screaming out at me that goes, I can take this into Act 7, Act 8, and all the other different acts and stuff that Kabam are going to bring out in the future and in the past. Like there's a good example. That's a dual class crystal. That's a 4-star one. I'm certainly not going to do a 6-star or 5-star for this particular video. That's going to be for something at a later date. But I got Captain Marvel. What am I going to do with Captain Marvel? There's very little to use it for. I think there's like 1 path in Act 7 to use it on. So that's really the point. RNG is a big factor to this particular crystal. It's a great crystal, and we'll go on to the positives in a second about the pool. But if I got that as a 6-star, I don't know to what extent I would use that in for the various different types of content that Kabam put different and various nodes in to kind of trick me and find champion options as counters. It's a bit of a difficult situation with dual class crystals, especially if Kabam aren't willing to buff some of these older champions to bring them up to the current meta. The 6-star shard grinding is very, very important. An extra 2,500 is getting you close to something else. Yes, the 6-star featured is a bit of an anomaly. We're going to have a look at that in a minute and why that might be dual class better than the featured. Again, that's going to come into the part 2 of this video. There's something I'm working on at the moment with Super Duper Boo. Shout out to Super Duper Boo. We're working on a 6-star shard grind kind of expectation. And it's, you know, if you are Paragon, you will feel that you'll be able to get shards. And it goes back to like a few content creators and a few other people have said, well, you do get shards in this game, but look, there's much more than that than just saying you can get shards. Yeah, everyone can get shards. So let's talk about value and why maybe the 6-star dual class crystal is really good. I rate them. I rate the 4-star one. I rate the 5-star one. Why? Because they get you to max signature closer than you might think, and also acquisition and grind wise can really see something kind of being brought in, you know, quite well. I'll give you again a good example is today, whilst I've been recording this, I have seen that Killer Beezy has picked up a King Groot Awakening. Now, I don't know if a lot of people like sit on King Groot. I personally love King Groot. I know a lot of people are. Super Duper Boo, Simula, Brian Grant. There's tons of people that love King Groot. I love King Groot. Great champion. So I wouldn't say he's underrated. I would say he's kind of like, the people know he's good. He is good. I know people will go like, nah, but that's our champion is bad. It's like, yeah, I don't care. If you try and find a champion with the more extensive regeneration that this champion has, survivability, having debuffs and buffs at the same time, and also struggle for ability in certain aspects. I use him like as an absolute train. I think the survivability is one of the best things about this champion. Now, part 2 of this video was like trying to find some real kind of like positives about the dual class crystal. It is a very difficult one to push. I'll explain why. I was actually just about to kind of like find something positive and like point it out, but it turned into a negative or kind of like a criticism. Okay, so let's kind of like go on what I was about to say. So the 6-star featured is a 15,000 6-star shard crystal. That's the first thing, right? And in that particular one, there's a pool of about 24. Okay, 24 champions. Now, if you go to the dual class, or what is technically what is in the tech and the cosmic, assuming that at some stage all of the champions, like again tech, cosmic, are in it, and then what we do is we click owned and unowned if it's allowing me to swipe on this game, which doesn't have a very good input system, and we click owned and unowned. You can see there filter, it comes up with 80. So there's a pool of 80. Now you can take a couple of champions like Kang and Thanos away from that, and you've got a pool of 78. So if you get 24 plus 24 plus 24, that's 72. If I've got my maths right. Yeah, 72. So that's worse. That's worse. Okay. It's worse, and it's a less cost for a worse pool. Okay. It's a bit of a difficult one to push. So I'm trying to think like what is the positive around these particular dual class crystals, and I guess it's all about max sigging some champions for a lot of players. And there are players out there like if you don't think there's players that are, you know, max sigging 6-star champions, then you might be living under a rock. There's definitely some people towards the top end of this game, whether the spenders or not, and that's something that I was about to kind of like point out is like spenders or people that spend or are able to get into certain or do certain things extra in the game will get more out of these particular. They may be more interested in dual class. I think dual class are good, especially when it comes to targeting certain types of classes and champions to max signature. This is why I think that the value is with doing that 5-star ones. I will always do dual crystal in like that's all I'm purchasing. The reason I'm doing 5-star dual class crystals is because it's at a stage with 5 stars that I'm just getting them left, right and center, and I don't want to go down the route of going, oh, let's just chuck them all into the basic 5-star because the pools are more extensive. So where do I take 10,000 5-star shards? Not in the basic, but in the dual class, because I'm 200 signaturing those 5-star champions. So it does come to a point where how come I'm targeting this? Like, I kind of feel like what they're doing with this is they're kind of targeting spenders to suppress. The reason I think that is that a lot of spenders would have been further ahead with their rosters with 200 signature for the means of those 6 stars, which is very different to like how, say, non-spenders, and especially those at Cavalier and even Paragon non-spenders, people that just got Paragon. I suppose like myself, like I've got quite a few 200 signature 6-star champions, but I don't have all of them. So there must be a lot of people out there that are 200 signaturing a lot of 6-star champions. And as I said, it's kind of like they're the ones that this is kind of intended for. Because when you 200 signature a 6-star champion, you get literally, I think it's 1,000 6-star shards from. I could be wrong with that. So if people are doing that more regularly, say if you do 10 and you're, you know, say spend or whatever, if you do 10, then that's literally another 6-star. That's another 6-star that you're able to get. So what does it inflates? It inflates the extent of like the person's roster because they're able to get like another champion, to get another new one. It's great. But I suppose that's the debatable thing as to like, is there any kind of great worth of the dual class crystal? And as I said, like the main thing from this is from a 5-star perspective, it's worth it. It's great. acquisition wise, is fantastic. And this is the thing that I think that it ruins the opportunity for Cavalier players. I don't know if this is available uncollected. Well, I say uncollected, Cavalier, and maybe early Thronebreaker. Because when you haven't kind of made your roster wide, and say you haven't been playing for a long time, therefore you don't have a load of 5 stars, you don't have a load of you don't have a load of 5 stars, which means you aren't duping. If you're not duping, you're not getting 6-star shards. If you're not grinding loads of content, you're not getting loads more 6-star shards. When you come to get your 6 stars for the very first time, the 3rd time, the 4th time, even it could be like your 10th 6-star or even 20th 6-star. If you aren't getting a champion, which you could be getting on the bottom end of the spectrum, which if I go to my 6 stars rank 1 and I look at them, if you're not getting ignore the gold tiers, I haven't ranked up by the way, but if you're kind of like getting some of the stuff that's really low on the spectrum, and I'm talking like Captain America World War II, Doctor Strange, Black Bolt, Winter Soldier, Rhino, Elektra, Moon Knight, Spider-Man OG, Iron Fist, Superior Iron Man, Daredevil. If you're getting a lot of those champions, and you're kind of going, right, well, I'm my first kind of few champions of these, you're not going to elevate your roster. And this is what the dual class crystal was meant to help out. And yeah, here's the thing. Yes, there are 6-star shards about in different bits of content, but that's not the process that's not the availability for lower players. Arguably and debatably, it could be a case of like, well, should these be available for those type of players? And is this more of like a Paragon problem or late Thronebreaker problem? Don't know. Again, that's a further debate for another day. It'd be interesting to kind of like get an idea as to whether or not people like them or don't. As I said, for me, I would have liked to see them at 10k. Really would. I think they're a great thing for people's roster for acquisition purpose. Not extensively, as we've seen on the pool of things, but at least it gives players an opportunity to go on a thinner pool of champions that could have some bangers in it. And that's the big thing, giving players an opportunity to get bangers. So it could be a case that instead they may save up a further 2,500 6-star shards and instead go for a 6-star featured, which may be something that I would recommend over the dual class, if it's a case that it's more of a guarantee of them getting something good with a shorter and smaller pool of champions to go for. Don't know though. That's up for debate with the comment section on that one. And yeah, interesting to find out what people's thoughts are on that one. As I said, I would have liked them to just be 10,000. In any case, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you later on. And also check out some other content located on the screen. Bye bye for now.